Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's our continued coverage of World Cup 2021. The men's round and the women's round has just concluded, both classical games in their respective categories. So some players have already moved on to round number 4, and some players will need the tie breaks tomorrow. But we just need to take a look at all the games because they have been absolutely crazy, which is why this is the name of the video. I already decided that when I start recording. I'm just going to get right into it, okay? I'm going to show you 6 games. We're going to talk storylines, standings, all that stuff. I hope you're doing amazing. Here we go. First storyline of the day, Fabiano Caruana, first of all, allowed to continue playing, right, with that whole crazy coronavirus that his opponent had, and I don't know, but allowed to keep playing. And this is his second classical game now against Rinat Jumabayev from Kazakhstan. We have a Queen's Gambit decline transposition. Nothing particularly special. Let me also make my air conditioner go a little bit calmer so it doesn't make a lot of noise. Exchange variation of Queen's Gambit declined. I mean, truly not the most exciting thing, but right here is an interesting move. Black plays the move knight to h5, and Black's point here is that he wants to trade bishops, which standard stuff. Takes. And Black actually plays in a kind of a peculiar way. Like, what is Black doing? Is Black smoke a little bit of something before the game? Like, what is this? Well, it's actually kind of normal. And it's a pretty confrontational line because White can push all these pawns, which, as you'll notice, White actually does that. White plays f3, and Black also prepares to attack on the queen side with b6 and c5. And at some point, this is what Black does. And optically speaking, White's position looks extremely good, but Black doesn't have any super weaknesses. I mean, this knight, there's a bit of a struggle for it, but White can never really play the move g5 because after just something like this, you're never going to get through. So it's not super clear what to do. And so White, Fabiano plays a4, Black takes some queenside space and plays a6, and then plays b5. So Black's play is very clear. This is basically what Black is doing. He's saying, if you don't checkmate me over here, then I'm just going to push. I'm just going to do that. Like, that's my plan. Fabiano's like, okay, we'll see who's going to push what and where. And Rinat's like, dude, I'm not into that. Relax. En passant and here. And, okay, the queenside play has sort of been thwarted. The bishop on b3 covers the b4 pawn. It's not really going to go anywhere. Look at that move. You know where that bishop's going? I'll give you one guess. And your guess better be here. That's called a reroute. All right, now that bishop's got, that's nice. That is a powerful bishop. Fabiano is like a move or two away from reigning hell because you're not going to be able to put a knight on h5 if I control it, right? So he plays g5. In fact, he plays it rather than moving his rook out of the way. And this one tempo, maybe he didn't like the fact that this was happening, and you cannot take this bishop. I just hope you all understand. You cannot allow Black connected pass pawns. They are pawns that have no pawns blocking their path, and they're together. And White doesn't want these pawns to be together, which is essentially like a microcosm of like society. Wow. Anyway, g5, and Fabiano just says, look, man, you can have the rook. I've gotten your bishop. Actually, I think your bishop was more powerful than my rook. Now I'm going to create an attack. I'm also going to win this pawn for good measure. So I have a bishop and a pawn for a rook. You have 5, I have 4, 1 point difference. But Rinat plays a nice move. He plays rook b5, and this is super strong. It looks like you can very easily play e4, but you can't because now you've given yourself more weaknesses, and the position's actually very difficult to defend, right? So Fabiano plays queen e4, but that gives away the g5 pawn. And even though Fabiano can push f4, f5, I mean, it looks like he has everything. I mean, Rinat is just in time. He plays knight f6, which gets some pieces off the board. It's actually funny. The better move was knight d6, just attacking the queen and this pawn. And it looks like White just, can get you under some very severe pressure. But there's a way for Black to get out of this. Rinat plays also a human-looking move to just trade knights. That seems... But the problem is that he opens up the f-file for his opponent. Now Fabiano's actually doing pretty well. And here he has a nice little tactic. He can play bishop takes f7 check, queen f7, because if rook f7 were to be played here, just so you understand, you're not going to take this. You're going to go here. No one can cover the back rank. It's like almost mate, but Black would have to lose a lot of material. Instead, we got this. And this is a really odd endgame because it's queen and pawn for 2 rooks which is 10, and 10 equals 10, but not in chess. But black has this, and white has these two. And they both have horses, by the way, but whatever. That's not really, even though the horses immediately get involved. Yeah, black's got an interesting thing going here. Like, he's threatening some stuff of his own. Neither one of the rooks is dealing with the B pawn, though, so that pawn can probably be picked off, right? H5. Wait a minute. Whoa. Gotham, you just told me that pawn could be picked up. Yeah, I wasn't serious. I was leading you to then flip everything around on you. Queen c4 is a big problem because your king is locked away. Oftentimes when you can be attacked by 3 pieces versus just 1, it really matters where your king is. Your king can't easily come back here if I play h5. Now if you ever play this move, which is actually the only move, this is the only move, because if you take this, this pawn doesn't cover the knight. That's not, no, it's check here and mate. It's never too late to get mated, right? Like, let's be serious. It really is never too late. So king g2, and Fabiano's got to chuck the knight. So now it's 2 rooks and a knight for a queen and 3 pawns. Except it's not quite that, because after this, it's not 3 pawns, it's 2 pawns, and one guy's king is about to get mated. If you play a move like king g2, which rook do you take with? Of course this rook, to keep the king in a box. To keep the king in a box and land some sort of checkmate net with the 2 rooks. It's unbelievable. I mean, basically, everybody abandoned Fabiano's king, and he woke up surrounded by soldiers. I mean, he's like, wait a minute, what do you, no one guarded me? D5, rook takes e4, and here we go. And now he's gonna pick up the pawns. Now he's got no pawns left. He's just got his g pawn. And it's very important you do not trade these 2 rooks for the queen and the pawn. That's the only thing you have to avoid doing here, because that's a draw. You cannot win with 1 horse. If it's 2 kings and a horse, the king just stares at the horse. Nothing really happens. And that's it. And now, look at this move. Look at that fancy little move. Rook d3. If here the knight f4 you can't take, so he does this, knight f4 check. Now, at this point, something like after queen c1, rook takes g3, you can still try to hold this for a while, but after this, yeah, no. And folks, Fabiano Caruana just got knocked out of the World Cup. And that means something. That actually means something. This is the first candidate cycle in a long time. Rating does not qualify you. You could be the highest rated player in the world, second highest rated player in the world. You won't be first because of Magnus, but Fabi would have qualified by rating, but now he can't. And now he's knocked out of the World Cup, which is nuts. And Fabiano Caruana is now below 2,800 for the first time in like 6 years or 7 years. And he's number 3 in the world. Ding Li Ren, vibing. Over there in China, I believe he lives in Beijing. I could be incorrect. Just now became the second highest rated player in classical chess. Unbelievable stuff. And I got some other games to show you. This is a game between Daniel Dubov and the modern day Mozart of chess. And Vladimir Malakhov, also very, very strong Russian grandmaster. It's Dubov, so you know that he's going to play this, and he's going to play g3 at some point. Here it is. This is an a6 Slav defense, known as the Shebanenko Slav, or according to chess.com, this is known as the chameleon variation. I don't know what they smoke when they make these names, but here's the point. Basically, white gives away the pawn on c4, and black can, really hold on to it with moves like b5. And what white is going to do here is actually not really worry about that at all and just build in the center. You notice that all this is happening. And when b5 finally arrives, you'll play a4. And this is very provocative because, on the one hand, if black plays bishop b7, you're never going to do this. This is idiotic because then after this, black just has more pressure on the center and you've opened up their bishop. But what you will do on bishop b7 is keep the tension here, so it's difficult for black to move. If black ever breaks the tension, you're going to allow black to do that and then focus on the center of the board. Now, anytime I play these positions with white, I poop my pants. And then I also lose the game on top of that. 2 things happen at the same time. When Daniel Dubov plays this with the white pieces, it's like watching a magician work. He just pushes his e-pawn all the way in. Malakhov plays f5, taking some center space. His bishop's active. This bishop is active. Black is 1 move away from devastating the white position. And Dubov is just not concerned. The move c3, he's going to go here. He's just not concerned. He's like, come and get me. And Malakhov's like, well, you've weakened this pawn, so I'm going to go attack it. Dubov's like, what's up? You want to fight? Huh? Huh? Like Vanderlei Silva, Chael Sonnen on set? What? Do it now, you know? Knight f7. And, you know, Malakov's like, I can't let you get close. Now, here, the computer recommends you make a draw. It's like, yo, player with the white pieces, I don't know what you're trying to do, but I think that you should make a draw. You should repeat moves. Daniel Dubov is not interested. Gives away pawn number 2 and attacks the rook. And if the rook goes back to f6, then white just crushes in. This is completely lost. If black plays this, then I take e7, you resign. So, Malakov has to play c3 and then sacrifice the rook for the aggressive knight. And now we have a position which is completely equal. Black has a knight and 2 pawns, and Dubov has a rook. Black also has a protected b pawn, which is a passer, but black is, like a move behind. If black can just somehow put this knight here, like this, and just get 2 moves on this move instead of 1, so you kind of catch up, black is going to be fine, which is what he does, and he tries to do it again. But now Daniil plays this move, taking away anything from coming to c4 and also pressuring the knight. We have bishop back to b7. This move right here, it's a big concession. I mean, black has some plan to stabilize, maybe play c5, make sure everything in the center is protected. But it's a bit too slow for when you're playing a guy like Dubov. So Dubov activates his piece. Of course, this cannot be taken. And the other idea is that maybe you will go here or here in the future when the knight moves. So that's exactly what he does. And the second that Malakov removes the defense of h6, Dubov has arrived. He's just putting pieces on squares to improve his position. It's really impressive. Like, the simplest of moves, queen b3, bishop f4, then knight in, and then bishop here. He's not actually creating threats. He's just like, I'm going to put you here, and I'm going to put you here, and I'm going to put you here, and then his position is going to go boom. That's what he's doing. Now, folks, when you have everything perfectly set up in a chess game, what do you have to play? Of course, h4. And look what he does with this rook. The second the black rook, what was that? What was that? Rook c5. More space, targets the weakness, and backs up, and he's ready. I mean, everything is perfectly set up. Rook back to c2. This rook got offside, defending, and now can't control the back rank. I'm going to come back and maybe double up on the e file. And that's exactly what I do. I'm going to play rook e6 first, and then a few moves later, I gave you another pawn, by the way, so now you have 3 pawns. Congrats. I'm arriving over here, I'm arriving down the middle, and my queen could do anything. My queen can do anything. It can pressure here, this diagonal, whatever. And in fact, Malakov begins to create play against the queen. So you see, he's kind of kicking the queen out. He gives up his bishop and just goes directly after the queen. But queen a1. And Malakov's position, and rook e1 back, so that he doesn't lose his rook, of course. And just, I don't know how Dubov does it. Malakov resigned here after white's 40th move. Like, everything Dubov did in this game is basically beyond me. I mean, I can explain it to you, and I can kind of internalize it, but it's fascinating to watch. Like, from basically this point forward. He plays a4, then he comes back, just very slowly, absolutely demolishes his opponent. It's like fascinating stuff. Knight into f7. Just understanding there's really nothing here. Just not much to worry about, ever. Anytime c3, obviously when knight f7, the queen has to move, but just in general, nothing there. And he knocked out Malakov. He actually drew the second game very easily and was the first person to make it to the 4th round. Now I have another game to show you. This is the game between Sara Sadat Kademal Sharieh. I hope I did that name justice, and Gunay Mamadzara from Azerbaijan. This is on the women's side. And by the way, this game, you'll notice, kind of looks similar. And I included it because these games are a lot of fun. So in this game, we did not have a focus toward the center. A4 was actually played pretty early, so here. And black decided that they were going to hang on to the pawn with a knight. So Sara Sadat plays e4, bishop e3, and then ends up, getting this as well. Now, this is like perfect. I mean, this just looks so good for white. And if there is one plan in this position that I would love white to undertake, it's getting the f pawn like this. to get connect 4 like that. That would be perfect. And if you're wondering what happened over here, basically, I think black played queen b6 intending to take, and just straight up blundered that after a5 this cannot be taken. It cannot be taken because of knight to a4 attacking the queen. If the queen just hangs out on the b file, like let's say on b3, there might be like rook b1. And then if the queen goes like here, for example, there's e5 and this pawn falls, and that could be very dangerous. Although the knight does have the b5 square. Maybe black thought that this was just losing. Maybe black was like, take, here is like losing. And it doesn't look good, but it might not be losing. And basically black was like, uh-oh, I gotta... But you see white just does this big center here with f4, and black plays f5. This is important. You need to not just allow white to overrun you. But yeah, that's kind of exactly what white is doing. And I included this game because you're about to see, to quote my fellow content creator here on YouTube, Mr. Antonio, bishop pair from hell is what this is. You're about to see this uncorked. I mean, look at this. Have you ever seen something like this? Yeah, I mean, ow. And white just throws in one of these to kind of chip away at the queen side, and rook c1 to trade the active piece. And how do you break through? There's 2 breakthrough spots in this position. Can you find them? This is one. One is a bit hidden. It's that square. You would think it's covered, but watch what white does. Sometimes your position... By the way, you saw that? G4 got played to open up the G file. Sometimes your position is so good, you can actually afford to give away a piece of material like this, because that is black's only active piece. And by the way, black didn't even take. If black took, you could play DC or rook takes. I wouldn't even be shocked if they're both good. I think this is even better, maybe, and just like take b7 and go win the game. But white ended up winning this game by virtue of opening up the G file and infiltrating from c7 in the 7th rank. So kind of instructive moment, absolute destruction. I mean, wow. Yeah, so these queen's pawn positions with early g3s, vicious stuff. Honestly, very vicious stuff like can happen if opponent isn't careful, you know, with knight e5 and a4 and e4, different variations and different ways of playing this. Super nice game. The next game that I'd like to show you is the second round between so it's funny. I was saying Krasenkow like in American, right? I'm just reading what I see. Now, people were telling me in the comments that it should be pronounced Mikał. Like, in Polish, the L could be a W. Then I was saying, people were saying that Krasenkow is actually, it's Krasenkov, because he's from Russia. And so, I don't know. I don't know. You guys confuse me. Normally, I like to listen to you guys, but you guys confuse me. But the guy with the black piece is Pragnananda Ramesh Babu, the GOAT. He's the GOAT. That's as far as I'm concerned. Now, Prague yesterday won. So he's up 1-0. Krasenkov's got to win. Krasenkov's got to win with the white pieces. Here we go. What do we have? Queen's Gambit accepted. Knight c3. Now, knight c3 is a bit of a sideline, and it allows black to play a6, b5. And that's exactly what we see. Now, here... no g3 is played, and we have an explosion. So we have a4, e6, and this is actually all theory. So pinning this knight is theory, bringing the knight back so your rook is guarded is theory, but somewhere here, we really leave theory. Queen d5, queen g4. I believe queen d5 is an inaccuracy. I think something here is inaccurate. Maybe bishop b4 is inaccurate. I think maybe you're supposed to just go here instead of bishop b4. I don't remember, but, you know, that's okay. Rook takes a8. Are you ready? Queen a8. You ready for this? What is this? What is this? Queen g7. Okay, so obviously he's going to move his... Wait a second. He's got to move his rook. Okay, it's check. He's got to move it... What? Wait. Okay. So, yeah. What? Hold on. Prague gave up a rook for free to guarantee winning a bishop and a pawn with check, and now his king gets hunted out into the center of the board and crowded by the knights. And now white plays h4 because literally it's a beeline to make a queen. I mean, no one can stop you. And Prague has b and c pawns himself, not to mention that this king is still stuck in the middle. So obvious. Oh, he castled. Oh, this man just castled. Oh, and he gives up a knight. He sacks a knight to wait a second. Wasn't there a queen? Whoa. What? So if he had taken knight d3, this is game over. This is losing. You can't do this. However, after castles, bishop e4, knight e4 would have been a fork. He would have given a queen to get a bishop to win. What is this game? Queen b7, knight d5. Who is winning? Who is losing? Here it's +2, but after this it's 0-0-0 again. Now Prague comes back. Queen a7, king c4, bishop g4 just to, I don't know, put pressure on something. Prague plays c2. So now it goes from 0-0-0 to -5. c2 is -5. The game is completely winning for black because of c1 queen possibilities. But this pawn's a move away from queening. Check here. Check here. Obviously, white doesn't want to repeat moves. He's down 1-0. So he plays the move rook to e1. Now, Prague has a very difficult decision here because the threat is rook e4. But not quite rook e4 because that pins this, but c1 queen. c1 queen is always a problem with this queen here. The threat for white is queening, deflecting the queen, and then pulling up with the rook. Prague has to take because now rook e4 is not possible at all. And queen takes h7, maybe he was concerned with bishop e2. Like, this does look pretty scary, admittedly. Something here, and this pawn is lost, and it looks terrifying. Played knight f4, and that allows this. And it's straight up a fork. He is forked in the middle of the board. c5, rook f4. This is what happened in the game. And now the cleanest of finishes. How does white guarantee that this is a victory? Here. Simplify. And the deflection check. Bishop takes e6. You have to move the king, and this is completely winning because the bishop will stop the pawns and the pawns just go. And Krasenkov survives and wins. This was one of the most insane games I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I'm just sitting here like, I'm so glad I'm watching. I'm so glad I'm not participating. That was like me on the playground as a child when I didn't get invited to play on teams. Anyway, yeah, wow, totally insane. They will go to playoffs. Another match which was also totally insane is this one between Nana Dzagnidze and Carissa Yip. This is their first classical game, and Carissa Yip from the United States, very talented player. They play one of these, totally symmetrical. Now, if black wants to make a draw, black goes here. If black doesn't want to make a draw, black plays the King's Indian defense. So now it's the Fianchetto King's Indian defense versus, King's Indian setup versus the King's Indian defense. But Carissa's always got surprises up her sleeve. She doesn't just play like normal King's Indian stuff, she plays this. This is a very interesting move. The point is that if white plays knight c3, black can play knight e4. And this is considered totally equal for black. Like, you just plant your bishop here. If this knight ever moves, you trade. White has absolutely no advantage anymore. In fact, white is worse because of how stupid this knight is placed. And black attacks the center. So the best move here for white is queen b3. I mean, according to the database, this move scores the best, but the position is still balanced. White plays knight h4, and black plays the dumbest looking maneuver of all time, and ultimately reroutes her bishop back to d7. So it went here, 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 and yet black has advantage after the clarification of stuff in the center. Clearly an opening surprise that absolutely paid off. And by the way, this is all normal. In fact, this all scores very well for black. Black has played like 12 to 15 games here, and black does very well. So now what? We've traded e for d pawn. Black plays this because this traps the horse. So white takes the center to play knight f5 if g5 happens. Okay, black plays king h7 to guard the pawn. Here come the rooks. King moves out of the way. Let's hide the king because we're about to go to war. And f4, and b5. And we have excitement. Black has struck on the queen side. If takes, and takes, e4 hangs, a2 hangs, and black is completely winning. So you cannot do that. You cannot do that. Instead, white strikes in the center, opening up the knight, and attacking the knight, opening up the bishop. d5, and now not takes back on e5, and not even f. Like, the move that strikes me to be really strong here, the first thing that I look at is plugging the pieces. You see, you give black a pawn to suffocate their position, and then you play this. This is like modern day computer chess. You line up this, you line up this. If black plays the move g5, you can sometimes sacrifice. I mean, you have these ideas. You might even have knight g6, by the way. Like, for example, takes, and if this, some queen c2, and like the king can no longer escape. I mean, it's a very dangerous position. So f5 strikes me as the best. White plays knight d5, still doing the same thing, just giving black a pawn. Black goes knight g4 looking for the bishop. And here, after the move f5, black must be completely busted. Black is being suffocated with the pressure down the d file, and now this move f5. But what does black do? Creates chaos. Now the bishop is open. This bishop is blocked. What do? Do you take? Do you not take? Do you push? Do you play h3? Do you play queen e2? Queen c2? Like, what do you play? Do you take on b5? Right? Of all those things, pawn takes g6 is the most natural, and moving your rook in is also seemingly pretty natural. But where are you going? Like, in this position, instead of rook f7, if white plays like bishop f4, just going for this, white is doing well. But after rook f7, white decides to sack the rook for the bit. Wait a minute, what? And like attacks, okay, yes. But here's the problem. When all your pieces are in the center like this, some of them are going to be delicate. And when black comes back to f6, we're gonna start trading here. Like, things are gonna start opening up. Computer doesn't like this move, it just wants you to take this pawn, but whatever. Bishop g2, computer should shut up and go outside. Here, and where's the danger? Now that black has sidestepped the pin, wait a sec, what is going on? And now black begins trading, right? Because black is winning in terms of material because white sacrificed. So the queen goes to c6, here comes the knight. Knight has arrived on e4 and goes back to g5. Knight h3 and knight f3. And Carissa plays knight f3 check. The king has to go here, and just very calm rook f8. Anywhere the king moves, it gets absolutely obliterated, and Carissa just crushes. And you know what the craziest part about this match is? Nana Dzanidze also won with black on the second day. So this match is 1-1. Carissa shocked the world, beats a, very strongly rated, like 25-30. She's one of the strongest players in the event. I think Dzanidze is also like top 5, if not top 7, top 8 woman in the world. So big win for Carissa, but with the white pieces, she ended up losing on the next day. So we'll see how it ends up in the tie breaks. And the final game that I would like to show you all is the derby between Adiban Bhaskaran and Vidit Gujrathi. And I'm really sad about this match that they made the two prides of India play. I mean, there's a lot of really strong players in India, obviously. I know there's Vishy. I mean, he's not playing in the World Cup, so it's Vidit and Adiban, and it's a shame. But now, here's the story. Yesterday, Adiban Bhaskaran, he lost with the black pieces. Now he has white. He needs to play for a win. We have total symmetry. E3 looking for D4 and E5. And E5 after D4, we have some trades in the center. And basically, Vidit is going for total symmetry. He's trying to take the beast out of the beast. If you can tame the beast, probably you will beat the beast. By the way, Adiban's his nickname is the Beast. That's why I didn't just randomly say all of that. Now, he is not so easily tameable, okay? He allows a take in the center, and he plays king d1 on move 11. So now he cannot castle. Now he's also just a pawn down. He's a pawn down, and he can't castle. But he has threats. First of all, he's threatening to take and take the bishop. So the bishop has to be protected. You attack the bishop, okay? Now, bishop f6. Queen f6 is playable, but after takes and something like queen c6, like if your queen tries to do all the dirty work, there's just this move, and black actually loses because you cannot stop this, and this. queen b5. So if the queen like went over here, queen b5 just wins a bishop. So Vidit decides to take with a pawn. And from this point forward, Adhiban begins a series of moves where he plays like an absolute genius. First of all, he plays rook c1. That's not a totally genius move. Black plays rook c8 defending. And here he plays the move king c2. In the middle of the entire game, like, he can check the guy and make him move his king. He plays king c2. There is no discovered check possible, and you might say, what is the point of king c2? Well, it's not to go king d3. Then he wouldn't be a genius, he would be a moron. But he's not. He's a genius. He went here. He literally walked his king to safety. In the middle of a gunfight. All the pieces are on the board like, hey, what's up? And you know when the gun is turned sideways, like, not straight, sideways, like, that's when it's for real. He just walked his king to b1. And the craziest part is Vidit did everything right up until this point. It trades everything. He just trades knights, trades rooks. He's like, bro, I'm up a pawn. You're not going to beat me. Queen, rook, bishop, queen, rook, bishop. Bye. You're not going to win this. How are you going to beat me here? And I'm up a pawn. Did I say that already? I'm up a pawn. I have 6 pawns. You have 5. But here's the thing. In complexes like this, clearly one bishop has a much better quality of life, right? Saved for retirement, you know, didn't buy crazy cryptos. Like, has a good life. So, the light squared bishop gives white attacking chances. In fact, despite being a pawn down, the computer thinks it's plus 0.7. A full pawn down and at plus 0.7. So, the turnaround is massive. It actually thinks that because black's bishop is so passive, white actually has an overwhelming advantage. That is such a modern era concept. And from this point forward, not a lot about this game makes a tremendous amount of sense. I mean, I can explain it to you. And, you know, if you say, well, why is Vidit doing anything? I mean, why is Vidit trying to, like, why doesn't Vidit just shuffle back and forth and do nothing? I don't actually fully know. I think Adhiban was going to go g4 and first of all win f5. Like, for example, if here after queen d5, it's not so simple to do nothing, you know, because you have these weak pawns. So g4, rook e1, f4, I'm going to go after your pawns. And we get like a position that optically looks really good. This looks really decent for black. But somehow this pressure is still there. And Vidit tries to solve it by giving up the pawn to trade rooks. And Adhiban goes here. Computer, by the way, is advocating for a trade into this endgame and says it's completely winning for white, which is absurd. But makes sense, kind of. I mean, you know, again, these light squared weaknesses. And Adhiban's like, no, I don't want a rook trade, and ends up bringing his rook back into the game. And now black has a problem, because he has all the problems that he used to have, and now he's not a pawn up. And how does Adhiban play this out? By very slowly crawling toward his opponent on the light squares, making sure his king is safe. He does end up trading, but that comes with the winning of a pawn. And now, notice. You see how he didn't do this? This is a draw, probably. He doesn't trade queens. The queen is his biggest asset. He teams it up, and here we go. This, whoa. He lost the pawn? Yeah, he lost the pawn because of this move. And this is a problem. And yeah, I mean, Adhiban played this game like a computer. I mean, this is how computers play. And finally, at the very end, he does this. He trades the queens. And what's interesting is that on a low depth, my engine still thinks that white can hold this, but very quickly it's like, oh, no. Oh, sorry, black can hold this. White is not trying to hold this. Maybe king c7, king b6 was required, but this is still, and just so you're all aware, like why this endgame is not holdable. If you get a position like this, white pushes this pawn, and white goes to f7. And pushes this pawn, and this pawn can't go anywhere. So white just has too much. The bishop will cover b5, and then you walk your king. So white is completely winning, and Adhiban has the presence of mind to trade into an endgame that he understands is just winning. He just trades into this endgame. Yeah, I mean, Vidit won a really nice game yesterday, but this was straight up some computer stuff. I mean, Adhiban, yeah, and it's really a shame that one of them will go home tomorrow, but they have to play a tiebreak match. So truly a crazy day of chess. I went to the wrong screen. That's not the screen that I wanted. But hi, I'm in full screen now. Here's what I wanted to look at. Carlsen beats Tari 2-0. Tari fought well, but I mean, even showing these matches is like showcasing a bully beating up like a little kid. Well, it's just not nice. Matlakov and Wojtaszek will go to a playoff. Dubov knocked out, and he qualifies to play Yesipenko. One massive upset. Javohir Sindarov, the one who knocked out Firouzja, also knocked out Jorge Cori from Peru. He's on fire. He's qualified to play Kacper Piorun, also from Poland, who knocked out Jordan Van Forest. Grisha Korobov is a fun one. Duda awaits the winner of Tomaszewski versus Idani. And Duraibo Ali qualified. Velimir Ivic, or Ivic, is a Serbian grandmaster who I have heard of, but to make it to the round of 16 is incredible. Pentala Hari Krishna, also from India. Ante Brkic, yo, shout out Croatia, representing. So we're going to have some playoffs tomorrow, though. And here we have Goryachkina knocking out Badelka, Goryachkina Stefanova in the quarterfinal. Right? 1/8 is... Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's the 8th... No, that's not the... No, that's the one... That's 8 players left. Kashlinskaya versus Advokasova. This one has 2 playoffs. Garifulina and Polina Shuvalova. And yeah, Kostanyuk awaits the winner of the Ukrainian derby over here, the 2 Ukrainian women. And Gunina will play Batasvili. So fun stuff, as always. Appreciate all of your support. And I will see you for either the tiebreaks tomorrow or round number 4.